Hey guys, what's happening? Nihat here with Film Comics Explained, and backed by popular demand, we're going to be running through a few graphic novel narrations by remastering our 28 Days Later series, and finishing the second half of the story, before picking up with The Thing, Aliens, and Predator down the line. So, without further ado, here is the first volume of 28 Days Later. The graphic novel follows Selena, one of the 3 survivors from the first film, who's now sheltering at a refugee camp in Bergen, Norway, 2 months after the outbreak in London. Bergen is located on Norway's southwestern coast and is surrounded by mountains and fjords, making it an ideal location to hold out. Selena is sitting in her tent alone as a ball rolls in. One of the children hesitantly enters, apologizing as he cautiously takes the ball. When he gets outside, he tells the other children that he was brave for going in, indicating that the kids are scared of her. We then see the shadow of a man entering the tent, who tells Selena that he'd expected at least a couple of cats. He tells her that the scary lady usually has a dozen cats, before apologizing, saying that he was trying to be funny. He tells her his name is Clint Harris, and asks if she minds that they chat. Selena is able to guess that he's a reporter, and says that he's after a Pulitzer. Clint then says that she's half right, in that he was already an awarded reporter. He explains that the world doesn't truly understand what happened in Britain. They are fortunate that Great Britain is an island and the infection had no means of spreading. Yet, he explains that a US-led NATO force is about to start repatriating London, and that if he wanted answers, that is where he was going to find them. His plan is to sneak past the quarantine and head into the heart of the infected territory, but Clint explains that he will need a guide. Selena stands up, fists clenched, and tells him to piss off, and that if he was going to London, he wasn't going to need a guide, but a priest. I mean, he has no idea what he's getting himself into, and no concept of what he's asking Selena to relive. Clint arrogantly says that he's been a war correspondent most of his adult life. He thinks most of the infected will either be dead, dying, or starving, but also suspects there may be some who are newly infected. Clint goes on to say that this is the reason he needs a guide like Selena, who can handle herself, knows the area, and can think on her feet. Selena asks if he knows what she had to go through to get out of there, as not only did she flee from the infected, but also soldiers who wanted to keep her prisoner. That was the other horrific aspect of 28 Days Later, seeing the effect it had on the psychology of the survivors. Clint has no response. As she begins to tear up, he tells her that she is right, and that he's sorry. Selena asks him to get out. Clint then thanks her for her time as he exits the tent. Selena then opens a shoebox of her most precious items. We head back to before the outbreak and witness Selena on a date. After being handed a necklace made of her birthstone by her partner, she jokingly says it's hideous. Her partner responds by asking her to at least say that she liked the earrings, and Selena responds by saying that she promised never to lie to him, as they share a kiss. We get back to Selena, who is crying. She puts the earrings and necklace on before packing her bag. She then grabs something from under her bed that is wrapped and bound, which I'm pretty sure is her trusty machete. We head back to the top of the camp, where a small crew are making final checks before they leave for London. Clint asks if they've heard from the captain yet, and is told that they're good to go, and that the captain would be arriving first thing in the morning. Clint tells them that they should make sure they have everything, but his colleagues point behind him and redirect his attention to Selena, who is walking up towards them. She approaches the helicopter and tells them that she is coming. Clint asks what changed her mind, and she tells him that it doesn't matter, but clearly the memory of her partner has triggered her. He then extends his hand as he introduces his team, Trina, Derek, Hirsch, and Acorn. Harris tells her not to worry and that he'd planned everything out, before informing her that they'll be flying to the Shetland Islands to rendezvous with their supply boat, which will take them across the quarantine line. Selena says that she thought they were going to London, and Harris tells her that they are, but they need to go through Scotland first, which is where the quarantine is weak enough for them to sneak past. Selena is furious that his plan is to travel through 700 kilometers of infected territory with this group. One of them snaps at her, offended that she thinks they can't take care of themselves, and tells her that they've reported in Afghanistan, Iraq, Serbia, and other war zones, but Selena assures them that they have no idea what it's like down there. Harris then reveals an awful incident he encountered during his time as a war correspondent, and is clearly still affected by it. Suddenly, a fighter jet flies past them. The helicopter pilot tells Harris to join him in the cockpit, and explains that they're being warned that they've entered restricted airspace and need to turn around. Harris tries to explain that the Shetland Islands isn't restricted space, but he's either not done his research, or the perimeter for the quarantine zone has been pushed back with the rapid spread of the infection. The jet fires warning shots near them as it sweeps past again. The pilot tells him that he's turning around, but Harris yells at him to land the helicopter on the island. Harris then begins to yell into the mic, saying that they've been hit, are hemorrhaging fuel, and losing altitude. He explains to the pilot that he's bluffing, as he orders him to get down to the ground quickly. Harris then informs the group that they're landing sooner than expected, and will deal with the complication once they land. Selena then sarcastically asks if this was part of his plan. Once they've landed, Harris tells the pilot to find out who is shooting at them and why. The pilot lets him know that he will try, but that there's a lot of chatter out there. Now over 9 miles away from their target location, Harris asks Hirsch to find them a vehicle from the nearby lodge. The rest of the group begin to unload their gear from the chopper. Selena says that something is not right here, and Derek, who appears to be their muscle, tells her that this place was a ghost town. In what has become a frightening reality, due to the spread of the infection, tourism in Europe had dropped, closing down many towns. Derek then tells her to stay out of their way until they need her. Trina tells him that he was a little hard on the girl, but Derek responds by saying that he's not impressed that she was one of the 3 famous survivors. He considers her a liability and is worried that she's going to get the group killed. Hirsch then suddenly sees 2 people in the distance and calls out to them for help. Selena turns around and realizes what they are. She drops her bag and heads towards him. Derek calls her a prima donna and says that he will not be carrying her bag. Selena then yells at Hirsch to get back and that they're infected, but Hirsch freezes as the 2 infected run towards him. We then see the piece of cloth hit the ground, and witness Selena hold Hirsch back as she swings the machete into the zombies. She decapitates one as the other lunges at him. We then see Selena's blade cut the zombie's face in half. Harris calms Hirsch down, who thinks he's infected, before asking if Selena was okay. They shot at us because the infection has spread to the island. What's your plan now? Well, that's all for today, folks. We'll be back with the second episode on Patreon next Sunday, and plan on covering the entire series before moving on to The Thing, Aliens, and Predator, and whatever other graphic novels my patrons suggest down the line. We're also launching our playthrough of Resident Evil Village this week. First part is up on Patreon, and we're planning on releasing 3 20 to 30 minute clips every week. I might put the first part up on YouTube and make that available for everyone tonight or tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. This is of course in addition to our regular 1 to 2 Film Explored videos on the channel every week. So yeah, thanks for tuning in guys. I'm really excited to be going back to our roots. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and if you'd like to see the rest of the series, come join us at Patreon. Links in the description.